Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where we proudly have earned the YouTube Silver Playback Award for over 100,000 subscribers. Thank you to each and every one of you who is following along on our journey. Today's show is the Corner Bookstore. And no, I am not Red O'Laughlin. I am Jacqueline Kerbeck, and I am hosting this show here today because Red is going to be my guest on his own show. So the Corner Bookstore is a store where we acknowledge and recognize authors and publishers and editors from all over the world. Red has been hosting this show for a long time now. I think I was hosting it before that, and then Diane Floyd-Bame. So this is a show that gets a lot of interest because we have people from all over the world who are expressing themselves through their writing. So let's get down to it. Red is going to be talking about some of the books that he's already published and books that he has coming out. Just so you know, Red is my book coach, and he's actually helped publish all of my books, and I've got some new ones coming out as well. So Red is the man of the hour. Before I bring him out, just a brief introduction. He's the host of this show, The Corner Bookstore, The Wise Ones, and also Talking Heads. He's also a veteran. He's a distinguished Toastmaster. He holds many degrees, I think in excess of 5+, and he just got back from a presentation today. We're going to hear more about that. Let's welcome Red O'Laughlin to the Corner Bookstore. Hello, hello, how are you?
Howdy, Dr. Jacqueline. Just another wonderful day here in paradise. And yes, I did just get finished doing a military presentation at a retirement home here in Sugar Land. Had probably about 15 veterans in there. I think the oldest one had actually served in Korean War.
Wow.
I thought he was near 100, but he was only 94, so I guess he was a youngster when he got there. But a fair amount of people who were also in Vietnam, same time I was. And it's just interesting to run into other veterans and people that have survived a lot of things in their lives and just keep on going.
I love that. You know, so many times people are interested in retiring and they're going to settle down, which is great for some people. I know people who have, and they want to be playing golf. But then there's also something exciting about continuing to put content out there, continuing to educate. And I know you and I are on the same page when it comes to that. We are leaving a legacy of world-class education. So people might not realize, but it takes a lot of time to do what you're doing. Even for the presentation that you had today for the veterans, for you to have 3 shows in a row for years. You've done hundreds and hundreds of episodes. Why don't you give our audience that might be new, obviously we have new people coming all the time, a little bit of information about yourself and why it is that you're passionate about leaving a legacy of education.
Okay, thank you so very much. Appreciate the opportunity. Dr. Jacqueline mentioned I'm a veteran. I spent 31 years in the military, in Navy as a naval flight officer, flew in P3s, about 4,200 hours worth of flight time. I flew out of Vietnam, 3 different bases. My first tour over there, out of QB Point, Philippines, out of Cam Ranh Bay, Vietnam, and out of Utapao, Thailand. My next 6-month tour over there was out of Naha, Okinawa. And our missions were in support of market time back then and looking at all the Soviet bloc vessels that transited the South China Sea and delivered products into Haiphong. We're also looking for infiltrator trawlers coming from the north to resupply the south down to the Mekong Delta. And occasionally we had other missions, search and rescue and whatever. And occasionally there would be a Russian submarine that would pop up somewhere out near Guam, and we'd be tasked with going out there because we were the nearest asset. So there's a lot of things that I get a chance to do. So I spent 4.5 years on the active duty at that point in time during Vietnam. Got out, spent 20 years in the reserves, and then went back on active duty for 6 years. The Berlin Wall fell, and they ended up with a whole bunch of people gone because of that piece dividend. They let people go. And so I was able to find some slots. I spent 2 years in New York City, 2 years in the Alameda, California, and 2 years in Stuttgart, Germany, and retired out of Stuttgart in '99. Got to 61 countries in the world thanks to the Navy. I got my wife to 30 of them. Nowadays, since '99 when I retired, I kind of spent a few more years in the oil industry, which I did during my reserve time. Retired from there in '07 and have been doing basically, started out researching self-improvement, motivation, worked around the country with my mentor, wrote a couple books. Then my wife came down with breast cancer about 2013. Then she had surgery in 14, got clean bill of health in 15 or 16. And I switched over from self-improvement to health and wellness. My first degree was in chemistry. I've always worked in the mindset of why did this happen? What can I do to prevent it? What can I do to accelerate it if I need to do something faster? And so my focus nowadays on my writing and my speaking is health and wellness, what happens at the cellular level in the body, human body, chemically speaking. If this causes that to happen and that causes that to happen, what stops that from happening? What can inhibit it? And there's a lot of things we can do. And there's a lot of things that our bodies do because we're not feeding it the right nutritional amounts of various things. I started here. Looks like a bottle of water, but it's actually a bottle that I put in some Celtic salt or Baja Gold or Himalayan. It's got 70 to 90 trace minerals. I add a lemon or a lemon and a half to it. And so I'm using that as my morning ritual to get my body rehydrated, but also to provide some benefits in there. So I've been doing this now for about a month. And there's just little things you can change because a lot of times we don't get what we want. Now, the rest of the meals and everything, different story. Right now, I happen to be on an extended fast, primarily because it's Lent. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. But my wife recovered fully, and as part of her gratitude for doing that, we did pilgrimage. We flew military space A over to Rota, Spain, took train up to Madrid, and took a bus over into France, over the Pyrenees Mountains, and we walked what's called the Camino de Santiago. And 30 days, 500 miles, and we walked about 18 miles a day. And so one of the books that I'm writing right now is going to be a picture book. It's called The Road More Walked as opposed to the Road Less Walked, because at least 300,000 people or more do this pilgrimage every year. It's on old Roman roads for a lot of it. These roads are 2,000 years old. Some of them have been blacktopped and resurfaced, but some of them are still just almost in the shape they were decades ago. But anyway, so we did that, and right now I just want to, okay, as part of my giving back, well, what's this thing all about? My biggest question at that time was, what am I walking on? What's the roads? And I did and I couldn't find anything. I'm a researcher, and I should be able to find that. Well, I found one thing on YouTube. The guy's actually walking. Okay, I can see what he's walking on, but nobody really talked about what composition, what do I need to prepare for? And one of the things I learned right away when you're walking over there is that you're literally looking 3 feet in front of you because the road is so uneven, holes, all sorts of stuff. And so your whole focus is down in front of you. And that kind of opened my eyes. That's not the way we typically walk. So that's one of the ones I'm working on. I hope to have that one out by June. And then I wrote another book several years ago called Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging, how to live to 100 years of age with the body of a 50-year-old and a mind of a 25-year-old. Well, the mind of a 25-year-old is pretty easy because we never really age past 25 in our brains. The 50-year-old, yeah, we kind of add a few extra years, a few extra wrinkles, sagging skin, a lot of things there. But living to 100, that's kind of a challenge, even for the best of us. But living is the operative word. What can we do to actually have a decent quality of life? And so my next book is, I took two things that were major causes of aging, the telomere length attached to your DNA and the human growth hormone, which is something that as toddlers, we are just producing everything in the world, just can't make enough of it. But then again, we grow from 1 foot tall to 2 foot to 3 foot to 4 and on. And so it's part of that control mechanism. But as you get in your 20s and 30s and 40s, you're making less and less. By the time you get to your 60s and 70s, you're making almost nothing. But when you're starting to have 0 or 10% or whatever amount of human growth hormone, the guy, the big elephant gorilla in charge of everything is gone. And so things kind of go akimbo and all things start to happen. So if you can build back up your human growth hormone, now you have somebody in charge again. And that's a fairly easy thing to do. There's high intensity interval training, but that's difficult for a lot of people, especially when you get older. But fasting for most of us is a fairly simple thing to do. And even fasting 24 hours is enough to crank up the human growth hormone quite a bit. But there's another almost dozen causes of aging, and I purposely left them out of the first book. Now I'm going back in, and my next book is called Aging Sucks. And I want to be able to put in there, what are these other causes and what can you do to cancel that cause or ameliorate that cause or at least slow it down a little bit. And so those are the things that I'm trying to do. And okay, there we go. We have my Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging, The Joy of Ageless Health right next to it with the blue coffee cup, is one where you're talking about what causes disease in the body. And I listed as stress, toxins, radiation, inflammation, infection, diet, and expectations, even expecting things to happen. So if I take you back over to No Matter What You Can Do It, it's a book based on Dr. Maxwell Maltz's psychocybernetics that he wrote back in 1960 about why things happen the way they do. We talk about our subconscious mind being in charge of 95, 97% of everything we do. Well, that's what No Matter What You Can Do It delves into the brain. Well, if you have expectations, let's say your grandfather died at 53 of a stroke, your dad died at 51 or 49 of a stroke. All of a sudden you have a predisposition, an expectation. I'm not going to last past 50. And so you adopt a lifestyle that you're going to be no longer here at 55. So you expect that your body's going to produce it, your mind's going to help everything happen. So expectations mean an awful lot in our lives. The first book there, Understanding the Causes of Alzheimer's Disease. During COVID, when we had the lockdown, I did a lot of research on COVID, on Alzheimer's, and I wrote 43, I think, articles, blogs on Alzheimer's and its causes, not just the simple beta amyloid plaque or the tau proteins, but I went into what causes these things to activate, what other things out there have an effect. And so there's 43 blogs that I took and concatenated, put them back to back, put them in the book in chronological order, and a lot of detail within that particular one. I did a session recently on the Talking Heads portion here on the USA Global TV and Radio Network, where I went into detail about the majority, and I actually added probably 3 or 4 or 5 new things that I had uncovered that I got a file over here that I may want to update this book down the road. What do I need to have? So you find something new. Oh, uric acid. That's interesting. Why would that have some effect? And when you start going in there, you find out. So I added a few other ones. One of the ones we're going to be talking about here very shortly is called Heaven, the Final Destination. So I'm going to hold that off to the side. The Essential New Author's Guide is one I wrote, basically how to write a book and publish it for free. Yes, free. Other than your time, no money out of your pocket. You can write the book, You can get it formatted properly. You can get it sized properly. You can get free artwork for your covers. You can get it into the system of KDP Amazon, Kindle Direct Publishing is KDP, and actually create your own book, whether it's 50 pages or 150 pages or longer, it doesn't matter. But you can actually write your book and publish it yourself for free. There's so much information out there. And I provided you with almost a checklist and a process to do that. My last book I put out last June, Failure is Not an Option. And I fell in love with the space age way back when. And one of the tenets of the Mercury space program for 7 flights was failure is not an option. And we're putting men on the moon and we're bringing them back home safely. And so when you start looking at everything that happened, a lot of things happened way back when. Some of those things we forgot about. It's like one of the shortest space flights ever was about 2 to 3 inches. The rocket took off, didn't go anywhere, landed right back down on the ground again, burnt itself out as far as the fuel went, and that was it. A lot of things happened with that particular one, but again, it's one of those things we don't remember. We remember some things very well, Apollo 13, for instance, but Failure is Not an Option is your basic book on what can you do to succeed. And the first half of the book is basics, but the last half of the book is where the real meat is at, because I add some new things in there that some of them I don't even find in other success books, because they're a different way of working with the subconscious mind. And that's the one you got to overcome, because this is the one that's going to actually prevent you from doing something. Why? Because when you fail at doing something, that's one of the things that your subconscious mind doesn't want to have happen: embarrassment. So if you're embarrassed about something, your whole psyche is going to be, I don't want that to happen again. And so when you have that happen, your whole mindset's going to be, even though it may be good for you, I want to write a book, I want to walk the Camino, I want to lose weight. But if you have a history of failure trying to do those things, I want to learn a new language, your subconscious mind is going to actively stop you from pursuing it. So anyway, Failure is Not an Option is that one. But the one that I'm going to talk about here right now, Failure is Not an Option. If I can get that one up there. Heaven, the Final Destination. I've been a Catholic since before I could remember. I'm the oldest of 9 kids. Very definitely a Catholic family. Parents believed in it strongly. Went to all the things young Catholic kids have to go to. Got all my sacraments, did all that stuff. But in the process of doing my research, the cause and effect portion of why do things happen, I was at a retreat at my church, and the retreat master that came in there, Father Larry Richards, I think is his name, one of the first questions he asked is, do you know anybody in heaven? Anybody who's actually in heaven? And of course, nobody raised their hand. We're looking around, well, how do I know? Well, that one little sliver question was enough to plant it in my brain and say, I need to do some research on this. How do I know a person gets to heaven based on the tradition, sacred scripture, the Catholic Church, anything that is approved and advocated that gives me a strong level of indication of, okay, this is true. And that's what I did. I wrote the book. It's I give you all sorts of references to where things are. And in the process, I'm not going to cover the content here because the content will be covered in my show today called Talking Heads. But it was a different kind of research. I'm not used to researching the Bible or the Magisterium or some other aspects of sacred scripture, but I did a lot of looking at videos of saints that had interactions with the Blessed Virgin Mary or Jesus, and there are certain promises that were made. You do this, and I promise that. Okay, well, there's a promise there. That's probably something to stand on. And so, if you promise your kids you're going to take them to the zoo if they behave themselves, or you're going to take them out to McDonald's, that's a promise, a parent to a kid. If your boss promises you a raise, if you meet all these criteria, that's another promise. But you start getting into the spiritual world. Now, most of my research and everything that I have done has always been on the physical and emotional and mental aspects of our lives. I've been what I consider more than decent as far as my spiritual life goes, but it's nothing I've ever researched, although I have a lot of time that I do some level of research, and I've talked about it. I talked about in my fasting talk on Talking Heads of some of the people, some of the saints that literally lived for decades. I think 60 years is the longest, and all they had was the little host, and that was it. In some cases, once a week. So how can you live on that and not die of starvation? Now, I mentioned this morning to the gang, most of them were my age or older, so they were aware of things. Like I said, one of the guys was actually in combat in Korea. Quite a few of them were in Vietnam. So one of the interesting things that I was doing for research for this book, The Heaven, is the fact that the atomic bomb was dropped at Hiroshima. It was dropped in Nagasaki. Well, a couple hundred yards or so away from dead center of the atomic blast, there was probably still is, a Jesuit church. And I think 5, 6, 7 members of that church were saying the rosary very early in the morning when the bomb was dropped. Well, the windows were blown out, the walls were crushed. But everyone in that little community, just a half a dozen people, nobody had any ear damage. Nobody had any eye damage. Nobody had any radiation poisoning. They wandered around helping everybody they could possibly find for years, literally. And for decades, most of them lived without ever having any radiation sickness whatsoever. Same thing happened in Nagasaki. I think it was a Franciscan church there. And they had almost a half a dozen people survive. And again, no radiation damage. So, there are forces out there that we don't know about. And if somebody says, I promise you this, well, if they have the ability to do those kinds of miracles, and we see them all the time, why would I not believe something like that? I mean, we don't think much about miracles nowadays, but that was just there at the end of World War II. But nowadays, I can't think of the guy's real name, but Saint Charbel, he's Lebanese, passed on. He's a monk. I've seen 33,000, what the standard number is, but I've seen 80,000. But I know when you look at some of the videos, they're saying they're processing 5,000 a month, and they have a backlog they can't even keep up with of miracles that people, prayed to Saint Charbel and something happened miraculously. So from the spiritual end of things, I think there's a lot of things out there. We in our early lives are bulletproof for all practical purposes. Our health. We eat whatever we want. We don't care. We don't care if we exercise or we overdo it. We do stupid things. But as we get older, we get a little bit smarter. But same thing. You may have been raised a Catholic or another religion, and then all of a sudden you get to be a teenager, and for whatever reason you lose interest in it. And it's maybe decades later that all of a sudden now your spiritual life becomes important again. And when it does, maybe you have to do your own research in order to find, what do I really believe? I know what I'm supposed to believe, but what else is out there that for whatever reason I don't know because I haven't been at the right place at the right time. And those things are available, but we just don't take advantage of them. So with that being said, I'm going to cut back to Dr. Jacqueline and bring her back in, because I know we're working on 2 of her books right now. And one of them is going to be out by the end of May, and the other one probably in June. So ask me a question about my books that I didn't cover, and I'll go there. And then I'm going to ask you a quick question about your 2. So we can get both sides of the interview in today.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. And it's really incredible what you've accomplished, Red, and that you continue to accomplish, not just with your own work, but with all of your clients and also all of your guests on these shows. My question for you is, you and I have discussed about various ways to actually make an income from selling books. Most people are not making an income that they could live off of. And you do a number of in-person book signings. You actually mentioned to me about reaching out to local libraries, that they actually have budgets. So can you share with our audience the reason why you are so adamant about writing books? Is it to make money? Is it for credibility? Is it to leave a legacy? What comes up for you when I ask that?
Absolutely right. Everything you mentioned. Let's start with the last one. Legacy. What legacy do we leave? I never knew either one of my grandfathers. I was too young. My fraternal grandfather and fraternal grandmother, they were not part of my life, even though I was in their home for a very short period of time. I have no recollection of them. I have absolutely no recollection of my maternal grandfather. I remember seeing my maternal grandmother maybe 3, 4 times in my life. So whatever legacy they had, I have no idea. Nowadays, with videos and books and audios, there's so many avenues to leave some level of legacy of who you were, what did you do, what contributions did you have, what value did you add to your family, to neighbors, to society. Uh, we just had our first great grandson a little over a year ago. And one of the projects I have is to create a YouTube channel where I'm going to do a 10 or 12-minute video and talk about, where was I way back when? What was I doing? What was important? What things kind of stand out? What can I remember? Where I have a core dump of my life that's available for my great grandson, but it's also available for other members in the family if they want. So I'll put it on a privacy setting on YouTube, and those who have the right key can get in there and view whatever they want. So from a legacy perspective, you write a book, there's a lot of value in there, you share it, very definitely that. Credibility, when I'm introduced or I introduce a speaker and I say, here's Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and she's talking today on listening, and she's the author of 3 books on listening. She's this and this and this. And when you say that the person has written a book, their credibility goes up instantly. In fact, I didn't get into the publishing end of things until I gave a speech at a Toastmaster meeting. I talked specifically about credibility. I said, you're introduced as, here's your topic, but you also wrote a book on this topic. And that's kind of a big deal. And this guy, about a year later, after I'd given that talk, says, hey, I wrote this book. I can't get it published. Can you help me? So I did. About 2 weeks later, I had his book published. And then he recommended somebody, and that person about 5 levels down. And I said, I can make more money publishing books than I can selling them. Now, selling is difficult on a good day, but I found that if I have a decent audience, I can generally sell out a couple boxes of books in the back of my car. But again, it's that in person, get to know everybody, answer their questions, add the real value of why they should spend money for your book. You don't always get that chance when you're just on a 5-minute video here, there, or yonder, or you're hyping a book about something. And we see this all the time. So if you have the ability to have that book and you're speaking, great. If you're not speaking, that's fine too. Maybe you have a business and you're not a good speaker, and sometimes you kind of mix up things a little bit. Oh, I should have told them about that. Well, if you end up handing them a book saying, well, here's what I do, and dog grooming, for instance, cake decorate, it doesn't matter what the subject is. You're an expert. You have credibility because you have a book. And so the writing is not difficult. I tell people, Dr. Jacqueline, tell me about the first car you ever had. And if you structure writing as if you're answering questions in an interview, and you know ahead of time the interview questions, and you have a chance with each question to put 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bullets in there. These are the things I want to talk about. This is the order I want to talk about them in. And I'm interviewed by somebody, so I give an answer. It's recorded. There's software that will take the voice and convert it to text. Now I have a chapter. So I got to talk about first one time I'm driving over the High Bridge in Corpus Christi, and all of a sudden the car starts to shake and big loud sound, and everything starts slowing down dramatically. Nobody around, and all of a sudden I noticed one of my tires is going down the down ramp of the bridge. I'm up near the top. Well, my left rear tire had come off somehow and decided to leave my car. But you add these little stories to the interview question, and it's just not the, just the facts, ma'am. With regard to the chapter you're writing, you introduce little stories that talk about whatever that topic is. I'm there with my sister-in-law in the front seat of my, 56 Buick, and I forgot to bolt down the hood because the hood latch wasn't working. I had a lock mechanism for it. Well, I'm driving down in Corpus Christi, 60 miles an hour, and all of a sudden, hood pops up, and I can't see a thing. I have to stick my head out the window. Back then, didn't have air conditioning, so it was easy to do. And then gradually get myself over to the side. I climb up on top of the roof, jump on the hood, push the thing out. So you get these little stories, and whether they're your stories or someone else's stories, these stories sell, and they sell so well because they capture the imagination. I had something, I know somebody who did that. Lots of things are out there to make it easy to do. And when you're writing a book, YouTube is your friend. Go there and put in whatever problem you have. How do I format this book for 6x9? How do I format this book for whatever it may happen to be? What font should the chapter titles be? How far down? It has all the answers. You may find it on Google, but I can stop the YouTube playing, go back to what I'm doing, do it, go back over to the video, on again, okay, off again, and I go back and do it. I've done this many, many, many times because of installing new software, doing this. I can't remember how do I put no numbers at the very front of the book, Roman numerals in this section of the book, and Arabic numbers in this part of the book. And it's not difficult, but it's not something I do all the time. And sometimes I got to go back and watch a video. So YouTube is going to be your friend when you're writing a book. The same thing with publishing. How do you create an author account on KDP Amazon? Okay, look it up. There's a YouTube. On, off, go do it. On, off, go do it. And that's as simple as it gets. If you're writing a book in KDP Amazon, they actually have the ability to generate a cover for you based on your title and subtitle. Now, what I tell my clients is that, you may have a title, Heaven, the Final Destination. Well, okay, that's a nice title. But the subtitle is the one that carries the key words that really tells people about what that book is about. In other words, in this particular one, I'm saying, how to get to heaven bypassing purgatory. That's the basis of this particular book. Okay, I die, I'm going to go to heaven, but I don't want to spend 40 years or 4,000 years or whatever the amount of time is, it doesn't matter. In purgatory, I'd like to bypass it, wave at it as I go by, and enter heaven. So there are certain things within the Catholic Church that they say, you do this, for instance, last rites. If you're alive, you have last rites, and you die shortly thereafter, the precept of that particular sin gives you an apostolic indulgence, which says that every part of your sin is forgiven. Okay, just a plenary indulgence that you typically get will do that, but not the same thing as an apostolic indulgence, which literally takes you back to almost being baptized again, and everything's wiped out. So there's a lot of things in there that's available, but for whatever reason, I'm not finding it, or I'm not exposed to it, or I don't know the right places to go. Doesn't matter. I can do my own research. So when you're getting down to the cover, you get everything in there. I show people, my clients, let's say you're writing a book on cake decorating. Well, let's go take a look at who your competitors are. And you go into there and you look at, here are the top 25, the top 50 covers of books that have sold millions of copies. What do they look like? Do they have certain colors? What's the font size? What pictures are on there? Some books you see, they have pictures of the author. Some other books, they don't. So what do they have? So if you're trying to create a book, and you can hire somebody at Fiverr.com, that's Fiverr.com, you can get a designer generally for an ebook cover, $5. I generally spend about $40, get an ebook cover and a paperback cover at the same time. And when I'm publishing a book, that's what I generate, an ebook and a paperback, and generally not involved in any of the other hardcovers or audiobooks and things. But for 40 bucks, you ought to be able to find a designer who will get you a nice cover, front and back and spine, that you can add to your deal. So for under 100 bucks, you can publish your own book with your own cover that really looks nice. It's not that the covers are not nice with the with the other books that are generated. I've used a couple of them in the past. I think one of my books still has one of the original covers, the one that's on the lower right side of the screen. It shows baton being passed off between runners on a relay race. That was one that was generated from KDP way back when, and I liked it, so I kept it. So there are ways of getting the aspects of what you need. Now, once you, that's when they're on the right-hand side, no matter what, you can do it. So the aspect is, now you're a published author. Just because you publish a book doesn't mean anybody's going to buy it. Most authors never sell 100 books. And if you're planning on, I'm going to write a book and make a lot of money on it, that's the wrong mindset. You may make some money, but you're going to be part of that very few people who sell more than 100 books. They're out there, but they find out that in most cases, they still have to work for a living. Maybe this might generate some income for them down the road, but it's leaving a legacy. It's giving you credibility, and it's helping you help others, which is probably the biggest reason that I'm doing what I do. My ability to research the human body and provide information in, I think, a usable format, either through speaking or through my books or through my presentations that I do. I'm adding value to people's lives, and that's important to me. So as an author, those are the things that are out there. You're muted, Dr. Jacqueline.
Thank you, Red. That was quite comprehensive, much appreciated. And we're actually at the end of your show, believe it or not. You've got 2 shows after this. So we have been showing your website. We also have your LinkedIn. Let's pull that up. And here you go. So Red, who is a good client for you and how do people reach you?
If you're writing a book and you absolutely positively need somebody to help you, I only take one client at a time, and I work with that person until we're done. So that kind of limits things. Some people can get their books done relatively fast, within a month or 2. Other people, it's a lot longer. But I can certainly help you with that. If you have a book that's already written, it's edited, it's proofed, it's ready to go, you have a cover, generally speaking, for under $500 in most cases, I can get you an ebook, a paperback book, teach you how to change prices, change covers, do anything you want to do in your author account. So from a publishing end of things, I've done probably over 40 books for other authors, maybe 50 by now. So I can help you with the publishing. If you're trying to get some credibility for you as an author, or you as your business owner, as a TV host on USA Global TV and Radio Network, I have a show called The Corner Bookstore, which is the one we're on right now. I'm always looking for guests. I like to pre-qualify them ahead of time to make sure they're a good fit for the value that they're going to be giving the audience. And so we usually end up having a 5-minute Zoom meeting or telephone call ahead of time, just to make sure that everybody knows what's going on. I have another show called The Wise Ones, which occurs about 20 minutes from now. And that particular show is more about the business end of things. Entrepreneurs. Maybe you also happen to be an author, but you have a very successful sales program. The guy we have coming on today is a publicist of sorts. He's a publisher and publicist. Very good track record with getting people to number one best-selling authors. And so we're going to be talking to Frank about how does his system work? What does he do? So in fact, last week, if you want to go back and look at the Wise Ones last week, we had my company that I'm hired out of California. They got me over 2,500 books within the last month into 127 locations, bookstores around the country. And so those are things that are available. They're not always free, but again, what is your return on your investment that you're looking for? So you have to have a good business plan if you want to try to make money as an author. that's super important regardless. So with that, I'm going to conclude today and turn everything back over to Dr. Jacqueline and close our show out, and hopefully see you all shortly on The Wise Ones or Talking Heads following that one.
Thank you so much, Red. It was an honor, privilege to see you. I'll see you shortly for the next show. Thank you, everyone. Please do reach out to Red. We have shared his website. We've also shared his LinkedIn. I've been working with him for, I think, 4 years now. You will not find a person who is more honorable and more punctual and gets things done. I love that about people in the military, not only serving our country, but they just have the discipline and structure that really helps people, clients like myself, who can be a little scattered sometimes working with Red. He keeps me on task. He keeps me on point, which means I get things done. So please do reach out to him. We are signing off now with a message from some of our sponsors, and please do stay tuned wherever you are. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channels yet, why not? Get with it, people. I'm kidding. Go over to YouTube, to USA Global TV and Radio, and subscribe. Click the bell, and also go to YouTube, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, our second channel. We've got, I think, over 27,000 subscribers now, and we estimate that we'll be at 100,000 on that one as well this year. So double for 2025, both of our YouTube channels. All right, thank you again. Please refer people who want to share their story. Go to our website, usaglobaltv.com. Bye for now. We'll see you soon.
Ever dreamed of hosting your own TV show, sharing your story with a global audience? Now's your chance to shine. At USA Global TV and Radio, we make it easy for you to create, host, and broadcast your very own TV show. Whether you're a storyteller, entrepreneur, or industry expert, we help you bring your vision to life. With our exclusive interview, live streaming, and podcasting training, you'll gain the skills and confidence to captivate your audience. Our global platform ensures your voice is heard worldwide. Join our community of creators who are already making an impact, one show at a time. Step into the spotlight. Host your own TV show on USA Global TV and Radio. Book your discovery call today at usaglobaltv.com. Copyright 2025 USA Global TV and Radio. All rights reserved. Terms and conditions apply. To learn more, visit usaglobaltv.com. Have you ever felt unheard? Like your words float into a void, leaving you invisible and disconnected? How about feeling judged, when assumptions overshadow your truth, leaving you misunderstood and defensive? And then there's that moment when someone offers solutions you never asked for, dismissing your feelings and leaving you more frustrated than before. It doesn't have to be this way. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the listening mentor, understands. She's here to help you reclaim your voice, build stronger connections, and create meaningful conversations that inspire understanding and mutual respect. Through her groundbreaking books, online and in-person courses, and interactive workshops, you'll learn how to navigate life's most challenging interactions. Discover the power of elevated listening and transform how you communicate. Master setting boundaries and asking permission to protect your peace. Learn to recognize and release judgment, fostering empathy and true connection. Dr. Kerbeck also offers personalized coaching, one-on-one or group sessions designed to fit your unique needs. Whether in person or virtually on StreamYard, her guidance will empower you to thrive. You don't have to struggle alone. The path to deeper connections and better relationships start here. Visit drjacqueline.com or usaglobaltv.com. Join a global community of empowered listeners and transform your life, one meaningful conversation at a time. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck is the listening mentor. Start your journey today. Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honored to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/usaglobaltv. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.